Hey everybody, I'm Ryan from the YMCA. We have Sydney, also from the YMCA. Today we're going to talk about intermediate and advanced options for the deadlift. So all of these options that we're going to go through, I'm assuming that you are consistently training a deadlift and you're able to hit the points of performance, maintaining your lumbar spine, all of the good stuff through full range of motion. If you're able to check all those boxes, we're ready to try some of these more advanced techniques. So today, the first option that we're going to show, they're called pausing deadlifts. So a pausing deadlift is really going to be, it's going to teach kinesthetic or body awareness as well as positional strength. So a lot of times we use momentum to get through tough parts in movements. This is going to prevent us from being able to do that. So common places that people are going to pause are a couple inches off the floor, which means the weight is just floating. It's kind of just off the floor. Mid-shin, below the knee, above the knee, mid-thigh, and then at that point you would finish the movement. You don't have to stop at all of these places, but if you're somebody who starts losing their lumbar spine, you start curving here, this is an area that we need to strengthen, so this is a good time to start pausing mid-chin. So I'm going to have Sydney go ahead. I'm not going to dive into all the points of performance. There is a beginner video that you could review if needed. So I'm going to ask Sydney to stop this bar twice on its path up and on its path down. Each time she does that, I'm going to ask her to do a 2 count. I'm not asking her to actually count out loud, but in her head, a 2 count. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do that just below the knee and at mid-thigh. 1, 2, mid-thigh, 1, 2. Stand, squeeze the butt, return it, mid-thigh, 1, 2, below the knee, 1, 2, and down. You'll notice Sydney was able to maintain her lumbar spine that entire time, which is what we're looking for. So now we're going to talk about single leg options for the deadlift. What's really important here, training unilaterally or with a single leg, is it's going to create a lot of demand on the glutes, the core, the hips of that working leg. And it's obviously going to demand a lot of balance. So we're going to go through 3 quick options on these. Starting, we're going to go with the easiest option, which is a weight in both hands. Sydney's going to go ahead and hinge forward, kicking one leg back, bringing those weights to the floor. They don't have to touch, but if they can, great. What we're looking for is maintaining that neutral spine and back up. 2 options here. She could bring the foot down, or if she's able to keep that foot off the ground the entire time, it's more time under tension on this outside hip of hers. But don't worry too much about that. Good. And we'll do one more there. So now she's keeping that foot off the ground, maintaining lumbar spine. Perfect. The next option is going to be a little bit more challenging than that one. She's going to keep the weight in the hand of the leg that is the opposite to the working leg. So she's going to do the same thing, hinging down and back up. 2 things we're really looking for is that lumbar spine. And we're looking at her hips. Is she still keeping those squared so that they're pointing down, or is she airplaning out to the side? So imagine she had 2 lights on her hips here. Those lights should be shining straight ahead and straight down. If here she starts opening that hip, those lights are going to start shining to the side, if that makes sense. So, and then for the hardest option, it's going to be same leg, same arm. This is really going to want this hip here to open up towards the camera, and she's going to have to fight that to keep that hip pointing down. And up. Good. One more. Great. And for our third and final option, we're going to go through a staggered stance deadlift, or sometimes called a kickstand deadlift. So Sydney's going to take one foot about a foot behind the other and just plant her toes on the ground. That's her kickstand. So she's still going to be focusing, all that work is going to be on her left leg, but she's got her right leg supporting us. So it's still unilateral single leg work, but she's got the added benefit of some stability, which means she could probably go heavier. So for muscle growth, this is a better option than the single leg where you're removing the foot from the ground. So we'll go ahead. The movement's going to stay the same. She's going to hinge forward at those hips, maintaining lumbar spine, and up. So here we don't have to worry about her hip airplaning out like we did on those other ones because she's got the kickstand. So she's losing the need to fight for stability, but she's gaining the benefit of being able to lift heavier weights. So once again, I've said it before, there's many, many ways to do a deadlift or most movements. I hope you give a couple of these options that we reviewed today a try. If they seem super unfamiliar and you have questions, please come to any one of our staff at any one of our YMCAs. We'd be happy to take a look at your form and give you some advice.